We are here on assignment in Washington, D.C. This is a mission with overtones of extreme personal danger. We've flown here to our nation's capital to cover a story.
You couldn't have got us a smoking plane?
Martin Luther King weekend is usually one of those great American holidays that are appreciated in good patriotic consumerist fashion. Not this time. This time, the pigs have pushed us too far.
We really know what it's all about. It's about somebody else's possession. It's about oil, basically, and it seems like Bush just wants to use any excuse that he can possibly come up. He wants to find something, but I really think that what we really should be trying to do is find another alternative.
What would Oscar Wilde have said about the brutal war being waged for the sake of the status quo? Would Gene Robbins know what to do with a vial of anthrax and a hand grenade? Never mind. The important thing to remember in any case is I am not a terrorist.
Man, this thing's moving.
Let's get back to brass tacks here. 24 hours ago, we were sitting at a dive bar, on Fry Street of course, eating the hamburger special with fries on the side.
I think maybe we should get some extracts of pineal.
Man, listen, I'm telling you, we need to do something about this war. Washington, D.C., that's where we need to be. We need to go out there and give George Bush a piece of our minds.
You mean attack that pig sucker on his home turf?
There's this huge protest this weekend. As your cameraman, I advise you to buy a ticket on a jumbo jet to Washington, D.C.
Gonzo journalism at its best.
You'll need a camera and a tripod. That blows my weekend.
Why?
Because naturally, I'm gonna have to go with you. You'll need plenty of camera work before this is over with.
Why not? Anything we're doing is worth doing right.
The camera, tripod, mics, and other things were no problem to get a hold of. We called in a favor from an old friend. But the protest signs were not easy to round up the night before hopping on a plane to D.C. We decided to go without them and make them when we got there.
And that people are talking about imperialism and how the U.S. is starting to build an empire now, but really if you look back on it, there's been this gigantic American financial empire. We're looking at a major cultural shift. Things have got to change.
What is the meaning of all this? I mean, all this talk of social change and reform? Does it really matter if the voters are upset? Democracy hasn't been present in this country since the Nixon years, or maybe longer.
Permit?
Oh. What?
You have to have a permit to do these things?
So I guess it's time to fight the good fight. Why not? Another puppet competing for the opportunity to take a stand. The American dream is present in the hearts and minds of overachievers. Those that think, I might make a difference if I ran for president. That is the ultimate goal. So after giving this a little thought, I've decided to follow the American dream. I've decided to run for president. Sure, make a few speeches, show up for baseball games and political luncheons. Could be fun.
How do you spell Thompson? T-H...
T-H-O-M-P-S-O-N.
S-O-N.
The only thing left to do is campaign.
What are you doing, man? Let's go.
And what better opportunity to kick off my campaign trail? These protesters are ripe with fear. And now they're running amok in the streets of Washington, D.C.
This is a perfect place to start my campaigning. These are my kind of people. Vote for me! Vote for me! This seems like a hot ticket. Hey, I got 2 votes! Take it! Come on, man.
Here we are. We've reached the main nerve of these United States of America. Behind those doors is where the important decisions are made. Decisions about life, death, but justice for all.
The idea of covering this event in any conventional press sense is absurd.
The justice these protesters seek is not a self-indulged dream of a higher standard of living. but the justice of a people they know very little about. These men, women, and children have tapped the main nerve. Whether they mean to nourish it or drain it of all its life force is uncertain. One thing we do know is they're full of purpose. These are not your normal God-fearing robots. These are the soldiers of a new revolution.
I came to give a message on behalf of the Stop the War Coalition of Britain and to support the American people who are so effectively and so bravely organising against this war, and to encourage Americans to do what they can to stop George Bush.
What is the American dream, if not to succeed beyond the unbearable limits, to penetrate the impenetrable fortress, to live the life of the insatiable glutton? After all, that's what we're here for, right? To right the wrongs of generations before. These are the lights out of a darkened age, lives dedicated to the pursuit of a brighter tomorrow, searching to dim a forgotten past.
During my last few months in Vietnam, I was in a 1,200-man battalion, and when I left, we only had about a little over 200 people in the field that weren't wounded or killed. That's all we had left out of 1,200 people. And I don't see how anyone could have gone to Vietnam and not become an anti-war protester personally. And I know there are a lot of veterans here.
We're on a march to the graveyard, where we are going to expect the government for weapons of mass destruction. Let's get down to brass tacks here. How much you want for the skull?
For the skull?
How much do you think you take for the skull?
I'm not selling it right now.
Just
But
right here.
after the parade, I'll take a couple $100 for it.
Just right here. I'll do that.
Huh?
I'll be back. There is nothing more irresponsible and depraved than a man on the verge of an ether pit. Prepare for some.
From the Memorial Mall down First Street towards the Naval Yards, the rally has moved from the monument.
I had to admit, I had high expectations for this story at first, but that lousy cameraman of mine got drunk. Most of the footage was worthless. Some people are just not equipped for the hardcore lifestyle of a journalist. Some of these cameramen are fresh out of school. They can't handle their booze. They've got no life experience. It's too bad. He's not going to be the right person for the Freak Power platform. I'm gonna miss him. Where was I? Where was I going with all this? What in God's name have I been jabbering on about? Have I just flown 1,000 miles to see some snow and monuments? Or have I really come out here to work on a story? My cameraman has stated time and again that there is a noble cause to all of this. That may be. He's not your average raving madman, and some of the things he says may in fact be
I want you
factual.
to know that this man right here is my cameraman.
Is a
He's
cameraman,
not just some
not
dingbat
just the
I found
attorney.
on the street.
Not just the attorney.
He's a liberal. I think
really?
maybe even a communist. Yeah. Deep underground, there are these giant centipedes. They fly through these tunnels. These are their tracks. The centipedes are vicious. Stay clear. Decided to live out the American dream. I'm running for president. All right, I've got another vote. I've got that on camera. All right, good. Bats! The air is full of protest signs. Oh, watch! Bats in the air! Oh! Now watch out for them darn bats. How you doing? Vote for me, I'm running for president. Vote for me. Watch out for them darn bats.
The 1970s in this country were no match for the foul reality that was destined to become our future.
There's something flying. What's the sky?
What's that, Rob?
Man, they're onto us. Some kind of electric snake.
Electric snake?
What's going on here? What's next? Where do we go, man? Where do we go? I think we've reached our destination. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm running for president. Vote for me. Freak power.
Freak power. Best power of all.
Right.
Freak power for a freak nation. That's your campaign. That's your platform.
Freak power.
Freak power for freak nation.
Gonzo journalism.
There you go.
All right, ready? Wait, this guy's doing video.
Freak power is a power greater than imperialism and globalization. It's the power of the people. People that are angry and foul. People with real concerns about the state of the union. People who would rather call attention to themselves rather than those in charge. Good people.
To George Bush and the rest of those madmen, we say, we refuse to let you kill hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians.
What do you think the American public think about what's going on with Bush in Iraq?
Oh, the little people.
Oh, everybody supports
You want to talk
him.
about the little people?
Yeah, people love George. They just
Yeah.
do. They love him. I mean,
He's
all over the television station.
That's right.
The television stations just adore him. And the people
Yeah,
love
and
him
the-
too. And that's the way
That
it
is
is.
right.
He do what he wants, you know, so that's what the public loves. That's what
He's from a family that deserves to have power, the Bush family. It's a dynasty. Come on, let's be glad and be proud that we have a dynasty.
they're in oil
Let's
for
not
the
bother
longest,
with democracy
right?
anymore. It's a waste of time. I say that anywhere that there's oil or natural gas, any country, that's where we're going to put our missiles. Right.
Who would have known that hard-working journalists would one day be required to deal with armed, angry women such as these?
Now we got to get the oil out.
Heavily armed women with a wild passion for satire are hard to control, but they can be an important asset to the freak power movement. And there are a hell of a lot of them out here on the streets of Washington, D.C.
To the next oil field. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why.
For if we don't find the next oil field, our profits will run dry.
Our profits will run dry.
The freak power platform is exactly what these women are searching for. A party that allows them to get involved. A party that allows them to be themselves. A good party.
Came out to rule the world. Forget that botched election. He's just finishing his daddy's job.
Rallies for the freak power platform will consist of armed women chanting with passionate fervor. There will be a catering service, of course, providing essential supplies, consisting mostly of wine, cheeses, rum, and fine hashish. Hollywood celebrities will want to come, but journalists will be restricted to the west wing of the party headquarters. We'll need plenty of lawyers before we get this campaign off the ground. In my experience, good lawyers you can trust are as valuable as fine Puerto Rican rum, or even Afghan hashish.
I think I'm on the verge of total physical and mental collapse. There are no bathrooms in the subway in Washington, D.C. It's morally wrong.
Washington, D.C. is not a good place for heavy drinkers, or psychedelic drugs for that matter. No sympathy for the devil. Keep that in mind. How is any reasonable person supposed to deal with monstrous centipedes that come flying out of giant holes in the wall? Any moment now, and they'll tear us to shreds. We're down in the heart of the centipede realm. These centipedes come by 5 minutes at a time, back and forth, tunneling through long corridors of black, terrorizing all that stand in their way. Ooh. All we can do now is hope for the best.
Anything. People who tell themselves things are insane clinically, and if you do not understand what's going on in terms of the war with Iraq, you should consult your psychiatrist. But basically, in general, you should just listen to your television, because everything given to you through your television is the truth. It's developed by people who are,
yes.
you know, experts in the field of reality, experts in the field of science, medicine.
Up next on Eagle 22 News, we'll have team coverage of the possible war with Iraq and how it will affect the U.S.
Unpatriotic. You just heard Bill Schneider talking about that. Give us a call at 1-800.
These opinion polls, I don't know how they create them, but it's a lie that, you know, the country's behind Bush, everything he does.
Just, you need not believe. You need not believe. Just simply trust.
Let's turn this up.
Just sorry, same level. It's on every channel.
How do you change the channel on this
thing?
thing?
Sorry, sir. No. It's just the way it is.
Bill? Well, Anderson, you know, anti-war protests are certainly nothing new in the United States. Way back in the American Revolution, there was a lot of pro-British sentiment.
You should accept that as the way it is. Not accepting it could result in depression. Thinking for yourself may result in depression. Fear is in the mind, that's right. So don't use your mind, use your television. And get money if you do.
Yes.
Believing in your television blindly will result in prosperity for yourself.
The media is a really big case in point, and I'm really interested to see what's going to be in the papers tomorrow. The last big march they had, New York Times, NPR, they went out and said the organizers were disappointed because only 20,000 people showed up. There was a hail of criticism from people who went there, said this is absolute nonsense. There were 100,000 people in the street. And lo and behold, 7 days later, you know, they backtrack and they admit, oh yeah, maybe 150 to 200,000 people were in the street, when they initially said 10,000, which is a fraction of that.
They banged the anti-war drum in Washington.
No war on Iraq!
Tens of thousands rally in front of the Capitol.
You just got to ask yourself, does this serve a political purpose, and downplay all these demonstrations and pretend that, you know, that half of America is not really out there in the streets?
The biggest demonstration came in the nation's capital as tens of thousands of anti-war protesters rallied on the Washington Mall.
I heard there was anywhere from 200,000 to 500,000.
I heard after the rally there was 500,000 people here. So.
But thousands chose the coldest day of the year to leave the comfort of their homes in protest of government policy.
We turned on CNN to see if we could see anything. Not only did we not see any live footage from the world's largest news gathering establishment, they also said there's only tens of thousands of people here. And that's all.
That's all they said?
That's all they said.
Well, mainstream media is a bunch of bullshit anyways. It's all for entertainment purposes, so.
Well, the new movie, Gangs of New York, contains a vivid recreation of the draft riots during the Civil War. Immigrant workers refused to fight a war to free slaves who might compete with them for jobs.
My cameraman thought it would be a good idea to reach the voters on a personal level, but we got into a little trouble on the way back to the hotel. When we finally got back to our room, the key wouldn't open the door.
Police are coming after you.
What have I done? What have I done? Oh God, what have I done? What have I done?
You know, there's a lot of people out there like myself that want to get involved, but they don't know what type of, you know, what to do, who to get in contact with, you know. And it's just, man, I think the numbers, just being there, you know, just your presence, man, can say a whole lot. You know, everybody can't be spokesmen.
We know you! Daddy was a killer too!
They don't believe me. Officially, from the stage, from Answer, the numbers are 500,000 people. Wow. 500,000. You hear that, George? 500,000 of us.
What I saw was a buttload of people that cared, and that was cool.
I think one of the reasons that the turnout was as large as it was is that you had a lot of individuals who normally wouldn't turn out for events like this, but who have developed, rational reasons to protest U.S. involvement in Iraq. And this is no longer an issue. It seems that only, the left-wing, traditionally college students or former hippies, if you will, as the press tends to identify them as, it's not exclusive to them anymore. It's really reaching over a large scope of people and individuals and political ideologies.
But what exactly is the outcome of all this political ideology that took control? The puppet in charge tells us to buy more. Shopping is the answer.
In the name of war, you need a...
He didn't think about the prospect that people may take him seriously. So millions hit the malls, buy new cars and new gadgets that, at least in the short term, make life a little more tolerable. Meanwhile, plunging them deeper in debt. That's exactly where they want us, caged in a kingdom of fear, where nobody knows if there really is someone, or at least some force, tending the light at the end of the tunnel.